Climate change. It's real, it's bad, it's caused by us, but it's stoppable. Here's why. What is climate change? It is the warming of our planet's atmosphere, which warms our open bodies of water and soil. Why does it matter? Since we started burning fossil fuels on the industrial scale, the Earth has indeed warmed by about 1 degree Celsius, or nearly 2 degrees Fahrenheit. No other factors besides our destructive activities have caused so much warming to happen. It has not only caused so many species to go extinct, but also eventually it could lead to a mass extinction that would end us. But there is still hope to stop climate change even before the world warms up by 1.5 degrees Celsius, even though this has been considered ambitious or unrealistic by some. In order to stop it, we need to know what causes climate change. What are greenhouse gases? Greenhouse gases absorb the sun's rays. The most common of these gases are carbon dioxide, methane, and fluorinated gases. A natural amount of these greenhouse gases maintains the planet's temperature and climate. But because we are burning fossil fuels at such a large rate, we are disrupting the cycle of distribution of these gases. The increase in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere causes the sun's rays to be trapped between the ozone layer and the planet's surface, which is important to know that the different greenhouse gases trap more heat in the atmosphere than others, and some gases stay in the atmosphere longer than others. For example, methane lasts for 12 years in the atmosphere and traps 25 times more heat than carbon dioxide, while carbon dioxide can last up to 1,000 years in the atmosphere, much longer than methane. Here's another thing to consider about how human activity is causing climate change. Not only have we increased the amount of greenhouse gases, but we have also contributed to the decreasing amount of biodiversity. Biodiversity is simply the variety of living things on our planet. And sadly, because of a variety of our behaviors, like hiking, dynamite fishing, tourism, the list goes on and on, species of trees, plants, sea creatures, insects, mammals, whole ecosystems are decreasing or have already disappeared. These life forms, were they to grow more plentiful, would help stop climate change because they absorb greenhouse gases like carbon and methane. But since the amount of greenhouse gases are increasing while our biodiversity is decreasing, climate change is doubly impacted. What human activities emit extra carbon dioxide? Burning coal for electricity, burning oil for electricity, burning gas, mainly natural gas for electricity, production and deterioration of concrete, combustion-powered transportation, burning of biofuel, wood, and charcoal, as well as wildfires directly and indirectly caused by humans. What human activities emit extra methane? Harmful pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers, decreasing abundance of methane-trophic bacteria that absorbs methane, food and clothing waste along with other unnatural wastes, gas and oil fracking releasing underground reserves of methane, and coal mining doing the exact same thing, unnatural wildfires, and burning biofuels. Where do fluorinated gases come from? Only from humans. Fluorinated gases are not natural. Here are all the sources of fluorinated gases from most major to least. Production, usage, and wrong disposal of refrigerators, air conditioners, foams, aerosols, and fire extinguishers. The process of aluminum smelting and prevention of magnesium from oxidation through fluorinated gases. And it really is unfathomable how many consequences we now face because of climate change. And all of them are bad. To name a few environmental effects, the melting of glaciers, ice shelves, and permafrost, rising sea levels, higher temperatures, and increased extreme weather. This alone causes habitat degradation and destruction. and this, along with extreme weather and other effects, causes species to become extinct every single day. And this, along with and many of these species are completely unknown to science and may never leave a trace of their existence. To name very few of the unfathomably many species threatened by climate change, there is the polar bear, lemming, walrus, snowy owl, harp seal, emperor penguin, king penguin, leopard seal, Alaskan glacier worm, Yangtze giant soft-shell turtle, Bengal tiger, pillar coral, rough cactus coral, lobe star coral, mountainous star coral, boulder star coral, eelgrass, sea otter, bull kelp, giant kelp, kombu, and monarch butterfly. Some of the social effects of climate change include self-sustaining farmers around the world migrating to other places because crops and livestock being wiped out by flood and drought. Sea levels are rising, and about 40% of all humans live in or near the ocean. Many inhabited islands in Alaska are sinking, not only from rising sea levels, but also from melting permafrost, which holds the soil together. Climate change is also shaped by racist and classist approaches, because fossil fuel plants are more likely to be built near non-white and poor communities than white and rich communities. Climate change is also impacted by sexism, as women living in vulnerable situations are overly impacted by natural disasters and changes to the environment. Women often have the burden of moving out their families elsewhere when droughts and floods disrupt their lives. Some of the archaeological effects of climate change are that the thawing permafrost is revealing hundreds of year-old artifacts made out of wood and walrus ivory from the Yupik people on the southwestern coast of Alaska. Of course, the thawing permafrost is what exposed these artifacts, making it more easy to find them, but now that these artifacts are exposed to weather, they could deteriorate before they could be found. Archaeologists are trying to uncover all of these artifacts in time before it's too late, but many of these artifacts may not be recovered in time. And if you still need convincing, climate change is terrible for the global economy. Resorts being damaged by storms, business being swallowed by rising water levels, people made homeless by extreme weather, habitats disappearing, affecting our food chain. To put it bluntly, economic growth depends on humans existing. If nothing else will convince you, please consider this. Our financial well-being relies on a biodiverse planet and the sustainable use of natural resources that will keep it that way. Here are a few of the unfathomably many species that could be threatened by climate change in the future if we do not stop and reverse climate change. Samoan moorhen, Eskimo curlew, Guam rail, Cuban kite, Belemi pine, Madagascar big-headed turtle, ivory-billed woodpecker, imperial woodpecker, whooping crane, beluga, and narwhal. By the way, climate change could bring the extinction of most life on Earth. How do we stop and reverse climate change? Simply put, we stop or virtually stop emitting greenhouse gases and restore and protect as much biodiversity as possible. How do we do this? Well, we must replace fossil fuels and combustion fuels with clean, mostly harmless renewable energy, produce, substitute, and partially neutralize the production and use of concrete, stop harmful accidental and incidental fire and unnecessary fire suppression, stop the use of harmful pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers, reduce commercial livestock, eliminate or virtually eliminate waste, especially food and clothing waste, and properly use, reuse, and dispose of refrigerators, air conditioners, foams, aerosols, reuse, recycle, and reduce the use of all metals significantly used by humans, and restore as much biodiversity as possible, as fast as possible, without being destructive or depriving people of necessary resources. How do we replace combustion fuels with solar and wind power? Prevent oil, coal, and natural gas from being used or collected more, and urge for more panels and wind turbines to be installed where they are the least harmful to the environment, like rooftops. There are so many ways to do this. We can sign petitions against the leases and reservations for fossil fuel extraction and plants. We can install solar panels to buildings and make sure leaders keep their promises and stick to their goals for helping stop and reverse climate change. Combustion-powered transportation will also have to be replaced with green electricity and hydrogen. What do we do about the concrete problem? We can advocate for minimizing our use of concrete and use it more efficiently. Right now, substitutes for plastic and concrete itself are in development as engineers seek to make these substitutes sufficiently cheap and durable. Also, right now, a lot of concrete is processed using fire, which can be replaced with green electricity. How do we stop unnatural fire and unnecessary fire suppression? Climate change is a major cause for wildfires, but some wildfires occur naturally and should be left to burn. Naturally occurring wildfires are actually essential for natural grasslands, since these wildfires clear woody vegetation, renew the soil, and allow decomposers to flourish before the grass grows back. However, human accidents and incidents cause unnatural and overly destructive fires, so we should never let any form of fire in or near natural habitats go unsupervised. We need to discourage risky behavior involving fire because, make no mistake, every habitat is harmed by unnatural wildfires. How do we stop the use of harmful chemicals? Simply ban the production and use of these harmful chemicals. We can do this through petitions, lobbying, protesting for such, and urge governmental organizations to uphold these bans. Alternatives to harmful pesticides are eco-friendly bug repellers made of organic ingredients and the three sister strategy, where you plant 3 different crops next to each other so that those crops protect each other from weeds and pests. And also growing food indoors and in yards. These alternatives could replace herbicides and fertilizers as well. Other alternatives to harmful fertilizers are natural fertilizers or planting native vegetation, which keep the soil healthy and don't need any mowing or watering. How do we eliminate food and clothing waste? Well, let's increase the indoor farming, which prevents food from going bad or being affected by drought, heavy rain, or invasive species. Also, buying ugly food will reduce food waste. We should also buy only long-lasting clothing, and instead of throwing away clothing, donate it or reuse it as a rag or blanket. How do we reuse and recycle metal? Aluminum foil, cans, metal bottle caps, metal jar caps, and staples are recyclable when clean and dry. You can sell precious metals like copper and lithium from laptops, cars, wires, and so on. Other significantly used metals can also be recycled and sold, but probably are done so differently. You can donate your refrigerator and/or air conditioner to your local scrap recycler, or give it to someone if it still works and the person wants it, instead of throwing it away. How do we restore biodiversity? Restore, conserve, and protect as much natural habitat as possible. Key habitats to protect are any ocean habitat and old-growth forests, since those are the most carbon-absorbing places. In addition, ending any source of unsustainable harm on the environment restores in biodiversity. Restoring habitat can be done by planting natives, removing invasives, and reducing and eradicating other threats to wildlife. Conservation and protection can be done through enforced laws and acts protecting habitat, and expanding already existed protected areas or increasing the protection within. I do not remotely know every cause, effect, and solution about climate change. Many effects of climate change are yet to be known by anybody. What I have told you about climate change is oversimplified and incomplete, but I hope it has helped you learn more and helped motivate you to make a difference. Let's go over questions you might have or questions that should be answered anyway. Did you say hiking decreases biodiversity? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
The humans are large to the extent that most wild animals are scared by humans, which means hiking can induce unnecessary stress onto wildlife. Yes, hiking can be sustainable if done so respectfully, but off-trail hiking can destroy ground-dwelling lichens that take centuries to grow. Litter can lay around polluting the environment for centuries as well. Loud music can also increase stress in wildlife. And feeding animals can make animals lose fear of humans, which they need to avoid human-related dangers. Aren't all renewable energies sustainable? No, biomass is a combustion fuel. Dams have brought species to extinction and threaten many species currently, and indirectly emit greenhouse gases. Geothermal plants can drain water from springs that habitats rely on as a main water source. And windmills are the fourth leading cause of death in birds in the United States. And if we are not careful, biodiverse desert habitat could be destroyed for the implementation of solar panels. But of course, dams can be built in off-river streams and have openings for fish to pass. Windmills can be built in areas with few birds and be designed for birds to notice them more. And every roof can have solar panels to reduce the amount of land required for the implementation of solar panels. Can meat and dairy production be sustainable? Yes, with sustainable transportation, construction, and as much biodiversity in or around factories and farms, but this cannot happen in an instant. Also, pastures take up a lot of space, which has led to historic and ongoing habitat loss and fragmentation. Also, meat is inefficient. It takes less wheat to feed a person for a lifetime than wheat to feed enough cows to feed a person for a lifetime. We are omnivores, so our diet is very flexible, which means you can adjust your diet as you please for the most part. Can't we use nuclear power and hydrogen power instead? Well, nuclear energy is unsustainable, not to mention the detrimental effects of uranium mining, uranium poisoning, radioactive waste, risk of nuclear plant exploding, radioactive poisoning, and construction and aging of nuclear power plants. Hydrogen can be produced renewably, but can also be produced in unsustainable ways. Hydrogen is very flammable, and oxygen released from extracting hydrogen in water can bond with carbon to form carbon dioxide. Should I buy an electric car? Well, electric cars are vehicles that are travel efficient as any combustion-powered vehicle. If everyone had an electric vehicle instead of a combustion-powered vehicle, there would be a lot less carbon emissions. But producing electric cars requires a lot of lithium, and lithium mines are extremely detrimental to the environment and can poison nearby communities. So buy a used or recycled electric car if you can, and advocate for the recycling of lithium to replace mining of any kind. As you can see, I use a lot of sources about this very large topic, and the species I named can be found in the IUCN Red List if you are interested in learning more about them. Thanks for watching.